Nikita, home ground, say hello to the grandstands first. And it hasn't been the brightest qualifying for you yesterday, but I hope you woke up in a good mood today because it's your home ground.
В первую очередь, очень приятно говорить по-русски, поэтому я вас буду слышать на английском. И хочу поздороваться с людьми, которые пришли нас поддержать. Очень рад вас видеть. Вчера у нас был не лучший день, но сегодня из-за того, что мы улучшили свою позицию стартовой, буду стартовать 15-й. Сочи всегда приносит сюрпризы, и я надеюсь, что сегодня для наших людей мы принесем приятный сюрприз.
Could you please repeat for your English fans the same?
Well, it's great to be home. I love my people, and it's great to see the atmosphere back in Sochi the way it should be. And we're starting P15 today, which is the best starting position I've ever had in a race. So it should be good to start in my home crowd, and hopefully it will be a nice surprise.
Wet or dry Sochi, which one do you prefer?
I think dry is the best because the high speed that you get down to turn 2 is really enjoyable, and I think we'll see most overtakes done in the dry. So I'm looking forward to the race the way it's going to plan out, but if it's wet, I'm ready for it as well.
Thank you, Nikita. Спасибо. Я надеюсь, удастся порадовать трибуны.
До встречи.
Mick, you were hoping for a Q2 appearance yesterday, and what about race pace for Haas at this track?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, in the dry conditions, I think it's going to be a bit more difficult for us.
देखिए वीवो IPL 19 सितंबर से 15 अक्टूबर लाइव सिर्फ स्टार स्पोर्ट्स नेटवर्क और डिज्नी प्लस हॉटस्टार पर.
I know you have a lot of fans here in Russia. Do you feel that support? Just wave to them.
I mean, it's great to have fans on the track anyways, and seeing a lot of German flags is nice. Definitely like this track too.
And a few words in German, please, for them.
Ja, es ist natürlich schön, hier zu sein. Letztes Jahr extrem gut gelaufen für mich, habe hier gewonnen. Dieses Jahr wiederum auch ein gutes Qualifying gehabt, und hoffentlich können wir dieses Jahr auch ein gutes Rennen haben.
Thank you. Thank you.
Checo P8 on the grid today. Red Bull's hopes rest with you.
Yeah, it will be very important. Try to get a good start, and obviously it's going to be a long race. It will be very important to have a clean couple of laps, and I'm sure that we will be able to make some good progress, and hopefully get in the mix for the podium.
We'd normally expect you to be able to pass the cars ahead of you, but how tough is overtaking around this track?
It's a tough track to overtake. It's not easy. But that will be critical in our race to be able to pass some people.
Checo, ¿cuál es el plan?
El plan es llegar al podio el día de hoy. Creo que la calificación de ayer fue una lástima porque teníamos un ritmo muy bueno, pero el día de hoy estoy seguro que vamos a progresar y espero poder llegar al podio.
Gracias. Max, you got it all to do today, man. Back of the grid. How's it going to be?
Well, hopefully, of course, good, but at the moment, a bit difficult to tell. For sure, it will be difficult to pass, but you never know around here what can happen. We definitely need a little bit of luck, but I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while starting from the back, and hopefully, of course, we'll just have a good race.
Mercedes say they've taken the strategic decision to change Valtteri's engine for today. He'll be starting a few places ahead of you. Do you think the intention is there to try and block you from making up positions?
I mean, you have to ask them what that means, but I have to just focus on my own race and just try to make the best of it.
Max, moeilijke dag voor de boeg.
Exactly.
Mercedes has been unbeaten, invincible at this track before. Do you think it is possible to keep this tradition at this track today?
With this crowd, I hope so. I'm always so overwhelmed with the amazing support we have here in Russia, and I see a lot of British flags here. I've got great support in Russia. I never I didn't know what to expect when I first came here, but it's obviously we've been here quite a few years now and been growing with the crowd and growing with the fans, and we love being here. So we're really grateful.
All the Russian fans do remember your Russian hat at the podium. Where is it now, by the way?
I have no idea. All the stuff, like as soon as the race is done, all my stuff gets shipped back and I never see it again. So, but of course I've got the memories and the pictures. So
I hope you'll get one today, the new one.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm going to come back, and I didn't even know there was good skiing places here, so I have to might come back and I'll bring my hat with me.
Thank you. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Valtteri. It's been quite an unexpected thing with your change of the engine today. Toto Wolff said it's tactical, but is it tactical from the sportsman point of view, or is it tactical from the engine point of view?
I think it's tactical because we want to make it to the end of the race for sure, and yeah, of course you can always sometimes kind of choose where you take it, and having quite unlucky qualifying yesterday, we decided this is the right thing to do, and I still believe I have good chances to come up very high, and I want to be on the podium again for sure.
You're a master of this track, Valtteri, in Sochi. It's such a classics for Formula One. Do you think it will help you to get a good result today? What is your aim for today?
I think today anything is possible. We have a really strong race car. My day's been good all weekend, so definitely for me, I'm just thinking about being in top three.
Wet race or dry race? Which do you prefer?
We seemed actually competitive on both conditions here, so I don't mind.
Thank you, and a few words on your own language in Finnish.
Thank you. Niin, no taas lähdetään perältä, että vähän sama kuin Monzassa, että ei nyt ehkä ole niin ihan puolella, että vähän väliin joutuu ottaa uusia moottoreita, mutta kyllä tuolta niin ehtii vielä ja lähdetään nousemaan ja taistellaan viimeiseen asti, ja mä uskon, että tänään ihan mikä vaan mahdollista, että en luovuttanut pätkääkään, että lähdetään taistelemaan.
Thank you very much.
Kiitos.
Daniel, race winner last time out in Monza. What's it going to take to do the same today?
Another good start. It helped for sure. I think I'm in a good position to get a good kind of toe at the start, and it's such a long run to turn what they call turn 2 here. So I think I'm in a good place. You know, try to obviously progress, and I mean win. Obviously a win would be nice, but you know I think eyes ahead, and if it turns into a win, a podium, obviously that's a good Sunday.
Obviously, yesterday was wet and dry, and Friday wasn't the easiest for you in the dry. We can feel it today on the track. The wind's picking up. How hard do you think it'll be for you?
I think it's probably different conditions to what we've had all weekend. Although it's maybe dry, it's different to Friday. So yeah, I think it should create some variability. I hope there's a lot of cars starting in maybe not normal.
Going down to turn 1, a lot of quick cars right behind me who are very eager to get past. But yeah, a good opportunity to score some points today, so looking forward to it.
To score some points, but possibly more?
Possibly more, but I'm not getting too excited just yet. I think it's a long race. We have one Mercedes, one Red Bull at the back of the grid who are going to be coming through quickly and probably be challenging us towards the end of the race at least. So yeah, I don't want to get my hopes up. You know, it's a long race, but I'll give it my best shot. We had good pace in Monza and we have good pace this weekend, so I'll try again.
Best of luck.
Cheers.
The street circuit is better, but there's one permanent.
Fernando, a few words in Russian maybe. Добрый день.
Как дела?
Oh, very good, very nice. So your best starting position here at Sochi Autodrom. Do we expect big points from you today?
Let's see. I think it's going to be interesting to check how the race unfolds. I think there are a couple of cars out of the position with Bottas, Verstappen, and a few other drivers. So let's see. I think we will have to keep an eye on the weather as well. It looks quite dark in some of the places now. So let's see.
How many overtaking spots you can name here at this track? Because it's not very good track for overtaking, I guess.
I think turn 2 is the only real opportunity. benefiting on the DRS effect, but after that I think it's going to be difficult.
Algunas palabras en español, por favor, para los aficionados.
Bueno, vamos a ver qué tal es la carrera. Seguramente hay algunos coches fuera de posición, como Bottas, Verstappen y algunos coches rápidos detrás. Y bueno, vamos a intentar hacer una buena carrera, ver también un poco el tiempo, que hay alguna nube bastante oscura en el cielo y ver lo que se puede hacer.
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Esteban.
Hello.
You've been quite disappointed yesterday after the qualifying. Does it mean that you have goal for good points today?
No, I'm definitely going to go for good points today. You know, that's the aim, to look forward, obviously, and not behind. Of course, it was not the perfect Q3 yesterday for us. There was a lot more performance into the car and a lot more possible for us. But we are looking at today's race. We are starting on the clean side of the grid as well, with Valtteri's penalty. So we'll see what we can get, but yeah, it looks like you know, there could be some rain also, which can be interesting during the race. But yeah, I look forward.
You have scored at every race you have raced here. Does it mean that you like this track and the other way around? This track likes you?
Yeah, I like this track for sure. I feel comfortable on it, and I love, you know, coming to Russia. I think there's a fantastic support when we come, and yeah, I have a good racing records here in Russia as well. So it's cool. It's a cool atmosphere.
A few words in French language, please.
Bien sûr. Non, ça n'a pas été la meilleure qualif hier. Je pense qu'en Q3 on aurait pu faire voilà, beaucoup mieux si on avait optimisé le temps de mettre les bons pneus au bon moment. Mais voilà, on va regarder la course aujourd'hui, essayer de prendre les opportunités qu'il y aura. Et voilà, il va se passer des choses et on part aussi du bon côté de la grille. Donc ça, c'est un bon avantage. On va voir ce qu'on peut faire avec ça.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Carlos, front row of the grid, what's the strategy for the first lap?
Well, give it a go for sure. No, it's a great opportunity. I'm surrounded by very fast people on the straight, so I'm gonna need to get a good start if I want any chance of leading into turn one. But yeah, looking forward to it. It should be an exciting race. You know, there's a lot of people out of position, and I think we have a strong chance, so it should be fun.
Temperatures dropping. Have you got the car to win?
Good question. I think we have the speed. The other thing is having a degradation. You know, the degradation is key in the race, and we know that in cold conditions, our front tires tend to suffer a bit from graining and front degradation, so we're going to need to keep an eye on them. But in terms of speed and comfort with the car, I felt good all weekend, so hopefully we can get a good balance.
Carlos, puedes ganar hoy.
Lo vamos a intentar. Va a ser una carrera divertida, con mucha gente fuera de posición. Obviamente la salida va a ser clave, es algo rodeado de gente con un poquito más de velocidad punta que yo, pero bueno, lo vamos a intentar y hacer una buena salida y una buena carrera. Gracias.
Charles, it's a difficult day for you starting at the back, but not an impossible one.
Yeah, it is going to be a difficult day for us, but it's life now. We are in this position and we'll try to maximize it. Hopefully a good start. The pace was good on Friday during the race simulations, so hopefully we can make up some positions.
We talked on Friday. You said there's a chance to possibly follow Max through as he's making his way through the field. You've now got Valtteri to be able to follow through as well.
Yeah, that will be a nice train, and hopefully I can go with them. But let's see. Again, I don't think I have the same pace as them, even though I think we are quite competitive this weekend. But yeah, I'll give my best as always, and hopefully we can have a good result for the team.
Une course difficile cet après-midi, mais c'est pas impossible.
Non, c'est jamais impossible, mais bon, c'est sûr que sur le papier ça va être compliqué. C'est une piste où c'est assez difficile de doubler. Mais bon, on a Max qui part juste derrière nous, Valtteri qui part juste devant, donc je vais essayer de me mettre avec eux pour essayer de remonter le plus de place possible. Et voilà, on fera le maximum.
Merci, bonne course.
Merci.
Lance, welcome to Russia. As a Canadian, you shouldn't be frightened from the cold weather and rain, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not too cold for me here. We'll see what happens. It looks like there's some clouds around, so maybe a bit of rain, which could make it exciting.
Strategy-wise, do you think is it possible to have just one stopper today?
I think that's the plan. I mean, we'll see how the degradation is. We'll see what the weather does. And yeah, hopefully it'll be an exciting race.
Thank you very much. Sebastian, please join us. You have a lot of fans here in Russia. They have to hear you.
Yeah.
You were so angry yesterday after you missed the Q3 spot. How do you feel today? Can you fight for points?
We hope so. I mean, I was angry because I think there was a big opportunity. So I felt like I let the team down because the car was good and we just struggled to get it together. But today is a new day, so we'll see. It's not an easy track to overtake. But we start now from P10 and hopefully we have a good race. Maybe with the strategy we can do something clever, so we'll see.
Thank you. And a few words on German language, please.
Ja, ich freue mich aufs Rennen. Gestern war natürlich nicht ganz ideal, aber Schwamm drüber und heute geht's weiter. Und ja, schauen wir mal, ob wir ein bisschen nach vorne stoßen können und vielleicht mit der Strategie auch noch was bewegen können. Ich freue mich auf jeden Fall.
Dankeschön.
Welcome along, everybody, to Sochi by the Sea. What a weekend it's been so far, and what a 53-lap race we have in store for us this afternoon. This is the 8th World Championship Russian Grand Prix, won in the past every single year here by Mercedes, but their domination under threat after a brilliant qualifying yesterday that saw Lando Norris take his first ever pole position. We're here, located on the Black Sea coast. It's the largest resort city in the entire country, and it was almost underwater yesterday. Glad to say the rain has held off so far today. For the Russian Grand Prix, it was decided to reduce the amount of plastic consumed and switch to a paper-based packaging. Well, on paper, this looks like a very nice afternoon for Formula One around this 3.6-mile circuit. 18 corners, 6 to the left and 12 to the right. You'll run from pole down to the first braking zone, 890 metres. It's the longest run down to the first braking zone of the season. And you see plenty of incidents on lap 1 here. This is at turn 2. Jolyon Palmer heading into Romain Grosjean, who heads into the barriers. Let's fast forward to turn 4 in last year's race. Charles Leclerc, who starts 19th today on the inside, Lance Stroll on the outside, and the two cars touch and Stroll out of the race. 10 of the 24 retirements here in the past have all come on the first lap. This is turn 13. Alex Albon on Antonio Giovinazzi, who's got a gearbox penalty today. Albon with a brilliant move to get past the Alfa Romeo 12 months ago. The tyre compounds, the softest in the Pirelli range, C5, C4 and C3. The hard tyre should be the best race tyre. We'll expect to see the top 10 starting on the mediums, but you could get big tyre degradation towards the closing stages of this race, and we might have the wet weathers and the intermediates used as well. Here's the starting grid then. Lando Norris, the 102nd different driver to take pole, and his former teammate Carlos Sainz for Ferrari alongside him. George Russell starts 3rd ahead of Lewis Hamilton, 4th on the grid for him. It's 5th place for Daniel Ricciardo, just like it was here last year, alongside Fernando Alonso, his highest start anywhere for nearly 4 years. Lance Stroll got into Q3 for the first time in 6 races. He keeps Sergio Perez company. Then comes Esteban Ocon, 100% record of top 10 starts here, alongside Sebastian Vettel in 10th. Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, the two AlphaTauri drivers in their 300th Grand Prix for the team, start alongside each other. Kimi Raikkonen is 13th, ahead of Mick Schumacher, his highest Grand Prix start, in 14th. Nikita Mazepin, for the second race running, has his highest start, alongside Valtteri Bottas, who took engine penalties. Antonio Giovinazzi behind him, who had a new gearbox. Nicholas Latifi, one of 4 drivers to take engine penalties. And the two at the back, Charles Leclerc 19th, and Max Verstappen, the championship leader, who goes into this race with a 5-point lead over Lewis Hamilton, starting Paul di Resta at the back of the grid. We'll watch him, we'll watch Leclerc, we'll watch Bottas, we'll watch Hamilton, we'll try and watch everyone. What a race this could be today.
Absolutely, I'm just looking at the headrest of Max Verstappen. On that matte paint you can see some drops of rain as well, so maybe just in the distance, but don't expect that it's not going to rain, because there's something around and we're very close to the sea. But Verstappen's got to be charging his way through, but I suspect he'll take it nice and easy for the first part of the lap and slowly but surely try and work his way forward.
So Lewis Hamilton going for a 100th race win today. He's been going for that ever since he took victory at Silverstone, and he's admitted himself that it's taking quite a while longer than he thought it might be. And who's there to help him today? Valtteri Bottas with that engine penalty. We know Mercedes are worried about their engines, but is that a tactical move by Mercedes to try and hold up Verstappen?
Well, he's got George Russell there, next year's teammate, of course, and I'm sure Toto Wolff and Lewis had that discussion when they were giving him the promotion. But listen, it's so out there. I mean, yes, you could look at it two ways. Have Mercedes strategically placed Bottas to make an impact on Max Verstappen? I don't think that's the case personally. I think they are up against it with reliability. I think at some point Hamilton will need to take an engine as well. And of course, if they lose the Drivers' Championship, the Constructors' Championship then becomes important. So they need to ensure Valtteri Bottas just keeps beating Perez. And ultimately, if he keeps doing that, that keeps that out of the way. But listen, this championship's going to get fruity. We've said teammates are going to play a part. Maybe this is just one of these things. Then you could also say, Bottas qualifying 7. They could look and say, well, is Bottas really a contender to get to the podium? On his recent form, you would say it's doable, but it would certainly take something exceptional, as opposed to when Hamilton starts here, he seems to be able to get his way through.
Right, there's the rain off in the distance. Karun Chandok, you are our weatherman outside in the fresh air today. Is it coming already? 2 seconds, Karun.
So the rain we expect to come between 3:05 and 3:15. We think it's going to be light, and potentially other teams think it'll be lighter than we do. That's probably quite important. Anything, it means that it's more and more plan A. More and more plan A.
Karun Chandok.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, Crofty, there's a light shower on the radar for about, so when he says 3:05, that's 5 minutes from now. So it's in the area. Let's be honest, the sun's not come through at all today. It is hovering, but there is, by the sea, there's a bit of rain coming. What does plan A mean? I think it means stay on the mediums, and then as soon as they find a gap, they're going to pit and switch to the hard compound tyre and go to the end of the race.
2 seconds.
Yeah, my battery is just draining. I don't know what's going on.
That is not good for Max Verstappen. This is the lap, by the way, for everyone listening at home, where they need to be charging up the batteries. They head to the grid with quite low percentage of batteries, or they head out of the pits with low percentage. Then they use the car while they're driving around with the hybrid and exhaust gases to charge it up, and it's not happening for Max. Watch out for that. By the way, Crofty, look out for Fernando Alonso. He's starting on the hard tyre. That could be a problem off the launch. But he did a cheeky move on the way to the grid by testing out the runoff area at turn 2 to see how quickly he could come through that chicane.
Yeah, and he's very good at testing out bits of the track that he could use. It's Fernando Alonso. Max Verstappen's going to need all that energy power starting from the back. Here's the starting tyres. Norris, Sainz, Russell, Hamilton and Ricciardo, the top 5 all on the mediums. Alonso, as Karun said, on the hards. Stroll on the mediums. Perez on the hards. And then it's also hard for Pierre Gasly. It is hard for Valtteri Bottas and for Antonio Giovinazzi and for Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, the rest on the mediums.
All good now.
Says everyone cheering on Max Verstappen today. His battery is all good now.
Yeah, as a race fan, this is what you want to see. You want to see guys like Verstappen, the quality he's got charging his way through. But of course, Lewis Hamilton's got to charge his way through from where he's qualified. So you can say he's favourite, but don't underestimate what can happen in a Grand Prix. We saw in Budapest, they tripped over each other, everyone. Okay, it was a mistake by another car, but you can be vulnerable if you're not on the front row. And like Lando Norris said, if you qualify in pole, it's not got a great record arriving at turn 2, the first braking zone on the track.
890 metres from pole to the first braking zone. One of the reasons that the driver starting third has led the opening lap here twice in the last 4 years. Carlos Sainz, first front row starts, and the first Spaniard other than Alonso to reach the front row. Lando Norris at 21 years, 317 days, the 5th youngest pole sitter in Formula 1 history. There is the youngest pole sitter, Max Verstappen, starting at the back today after taking that extra engine from his allocation for the season and being sent to the back of the grid as a result. Lando Norris can see clear track ahead of him, but he hasn't been on the front row here since his F2 days in 2018. This is a very new experience for Lando Norris. For George Russell, who was on the front row for Mercedes, of course, last year, he knows what it's like to start from there already. Charles Leclerc pointing his Ferrari to the right-hand side as he bids to try and get past Nicholas Latifi at the start. It's the Russian Grand Prix. 5 lights are on, and it's lights out, away we go. Lando Norris does get away very well. Daniel Ricciardo too, and Norris now leads George Russell, who's ahead of Carlos Sainz, with Ricciardo coming up along
he's having a tough lap, and this is where people can have a bit more risk than he can have. And there's Daniel Ricciardo, he's went up the inside of Hamilton. So next up's Perez, he'll be putting a challenge on because he knows how important it is for their team to do that.
And Alonso also ahead of Ricciardo and thus ahead of Lewis Hamilton as well. Max Verstappen has got ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. Bottas under 15th, ahead of Nicholas Latifi. Pierre Gasly's dropped a couple of places and Charles Leclerc is up to 13th, but it's Carlos Sainz that leads this race, and here comes Daniel Ricciardo alongside Fernando Alonso down the back straight, half a car length in it. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? On the inside, Daniel Ricciardo goes ahead of the Alpines.
Superb opening lap, isn't it? And Lance Stroll all the way up in P4. He's made a great impact getting the slipstream, but it just shows you the slipstream. You can be so vulnerable if you're not placed in the right place. And Hamilton being on the inside, he was boxed in, but look how far behind the race leader he is already. So you can already see he's going to be up against it in the late stages of this race, still trying to win it if he can get his way through.
Not the start that Lewis Hamilton wanted, and as they cross the line, it's a 1.2-second advantage for Carlos Sainz over his former teammate Lando Norris. Ferrari lead McLaren. George Russell is in third. Lance Stroll, as you mentioned, Paul, in fourth place ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton in seventh. And Hamilton is putting the squeeze, or trying to, on Fernando Alonso, but not getting the results.
Is that a sign of some rain, Crofty, or are they saying some kind of oily surface because the flag that's gone out?
Hamilton round turn 3, he's taking the long way round as he got the momentum to try and squeeze ahead. As into turn 4 they go. Hamilton has got past Fernando Alonso and made a move up into 6th place. Now, I think that's flag warning, Paul, you were talking about at turn 2. Someone's gone through the bollards. There's polystyrene and debris on the floor. That is why they're reporting that. But if the rain is coming in, it's coming in from that part of the track.
Yeah, it is, and you can see there's a yellow flag in sector 1. Who are we missing, or is it just to get the debris? Maybe it's just a caution by the FIA, but this is Perez. He needs to clear Alonso quickly. He needs to play the team game here, and he is on the hard tyre, so he's going to go a bit longer than Hamilton, and Red Bull really need to keep pushing their way forward.
Yuki Tsunoda is now plumb last. Mick Schumacher has gone from his highest grid spot down into 19th. His teammate Nikita Mazepin up to 13th, by the way. Valtteri Bottas 15th, and Max Verstappen has made up 3 places, down in 17th at the moment.
And Verstappen just passing Latifi as well, as we saw. So here's the start. Look at the start that Russell's got, but Sainz actually gets a poor start, and it must be in the second phase. He picks his slipstream up. Look how the difference it is here, and Lando Norris giving him that and opened it up. There goes the challenge. Norris is on the dirty part of the track, and Sainz taken to the nice grippy part, getting his way through here.
Watch the Alpine go through. He avoids the bollards. Yuki Tsunoda, I think that was, in the Alpha Tauri, who collected the polystyrene.
So by getting a bad start, just look at the difference the slipstream makes if you're punching the hole in the air. And there's Russell, but he's stuck. He's pushing the air himself, and there's just enough of a gap for him to squeeze through. Very well done by Sainz and very well thought about.
What we can't see from this particular angle is where Lewis Hamilton gets behind Lando Norris, thinking, oh, there's a gap there on the inside. But then suddenly, as Sainz forces his way past Norris, that gap disappears for Lewis Hamilton, and he then gets held up. We'll see it more with this onboard replay now.
Yeah, not a great start by Hamilton, though. You can see the McLaren, and that made a huge impact in Monza. And look at Ricciardo, the start that he got, but he's not got the slipstream. And there's Hamilton going to get boxed in like I was talking about. You're on the wrong side there, and there he had to brake. They all go around him. There's Lance Stroll making his way through, so he made it difficult for Hamilton, but Hamilton had to keep his nose clean. You can't take risks when you're fighting for a championship. But Hamilton at the moment, I've just seen, he's within 0.8 of Daniel Ricciardo. He's put the challenger on, but the vulnerable thing he's going to have is there's a bit of a DRS change between Russell, Stroll, Ricciardo, and then Hamilton's the last one in that.
On board then with Lance Stroll, who's picking up the slipstream from about 3 cars in front of him, and a very nice slipstream it was too, as he slips up into 4th and sees the Alpine of Fernando Alonso disappear, coming through those bollards and that chicane at a rate of knots, but joining the track at a slower speed. Now we're on board with Daniel Ricciardo on this first lap.
I'm just watching the screens as well while you're watching these replays. Verstappen is within 0.4 of Bottas in front, so he's trying to make an impact through the gap, but as you can see, it's all of the back and he's very close.
He certainly is. Out in front, Carlos Sainz leading the first laps in his Ferrari career. He's only led 5 5 career laps before today, and he's got a 1.1 second gap to Lando Norris. Then comes George Russell, under pressure from Lance Stroll, under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo, under pressure from Lewis Hamilton.
And Sergio Perez has been released. He's passed Alonso. He's just done a 41.6, half a second quicker than what Hamilton did. So he'll join that party very soon.
Bottas will be very happy to have cleared now Nikita Mazepin. Maybe that was holding him up just a little bit, trying to get past the Haas. He's up in the 14th, Mazepin 15th, and Verstappen is in 16th place as we see Hamilton once again all over the rear wing of Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren. But we've seen before this season a Mercedes behind the McLaren is not necessarily the easiest overtake in the world.
And not when it's 3 Mercedes in a row as well. You've got the Aston Martin, the McLaren, and then the Mercedes behind. They've all got the same toys to play with. They've all got the same, overtake modes. If they put all the pack into it, but what Hamilton will be trying to do is recharge so he can then go forward. Bottas just done the fastest first sector of anyone, some 7/10 quicker with the DRS compared to what Sainz is doing leading this race.
Verstappen now right behind Valtteri Bottas. You can see it on the left-hand side of your screen as we watch this quartet battling for 3rd, 4th, 5th and for 6th place. Verstappen's going down the back straight. Has he got that pace advantage? They've trimmed the downforce down. Valtteri's probably got a bit more downforce on that Mercedes. Has Verstappen, with that new Honda engine, got enough runs to try and get past the Mercedes? Not at the moment.
Well, I see where this is favouring the hard tyre starters.
Okay, we think rain is reducing, so we need to do something about Russell.
That's a different engineer in the race, not Bradley Joyce. Is that the performance engineer that's speaking today on Lance Stroll?
Yeah, I think they've switched it around. That's certainly not Bradley Joyce.
But what I was going to say, while Hamilton can't go forward, he's going to be pulling into the pits a bit earlier than the likes of Bottas and Verstappen who are on the hard tyre, and they can go much cleaner air and just go that little bit longer, and that's where they'll be looking to make an impact.
Bottas has just set the fastest lap of the race, needs it. Verstappen's still right behind him. We're watching past the flags of the nations that competed in the 2014 Winter Olympics. Lewis Hamilton trying to find a way past Daniel Ricciardo, and all the while that he's struggling to do that, Sergio Perez is gaining on him. Alonso is dropping back a little bit behind Perez. He's got Esteban Ocon just behind him. Kimi Raikkonen, back after a 2-race absence, is running 10th at the moment, ahead of Sebastian Vettel, his former teammate, who's dropped places from the start. Charles Leclerc has made a brilliant start, as I mentioned earlier, up in the 12th now.
I was just going to say he's taking me by surprise. He's much further up the road, but this is where, when you're Charles, he knows every position he gets early in the race just makes it a bit easier, because if he lost positions to the likes of the Mercedes and Verstappen, then they're just going to come by at some point in the race. They're much quicker. That's not who he's trying to get. He's just trying to do damage limitation to the McLarens and working together. But George Russell, superb. Holding position. He'll start to struggle as he's using the tyres a bit more, but just keep them behind. 5 laps into this 53-lap race.
You're going to need a bit of patience today, and the signs are that in the closing stages of this race, it could be a bit harem-scarum with the tyres going off and degrading, so don't leave anywhere early. It would be my plea to you today. This could build up to be something quite special at the end, but for the moment, it is not working out for Lewis Hamilton at all. It's kind of working out for Max Verstappen, but he's still got Valtteri Bottas right behind him. It is definitely working out for Carlos Sainz, who's now nearly 2 seconds clear of Lando Norris. Karun.
That's right, Coffee. Fantastic opening part of this race there. Carlos Sainz broken away from the DRS, crucially. We were all concerned about the Ferrari straight line speed, so he had to break DRS. But then, race pace, guys, on Friday, for those of you who watched FP2, was very, very strong. So Sainz could be in a great position. And actually, George Russell is doing him a great favour, because Lewis Hamilton now already 10 seconds behind. So he's half a pit stop, Crofty, behind Sainz already in this opening part of the race. Now, quick line on the harder tyres. They're starting to come in their own. Sergio Perez, last time round, starting to match. And in fact, half a second quicker than Hamilton. So the hard tyres now have come up to temperature on this cold day in Sochi.
Russell obviously protecting his 3rd position. He's the fastest car on the straight, so he's not going to be easy to overtake, and he will be using his overtake allowance that Mercedes give him to stay in front. And while this all goes on, they're all going to be stuck in DRS train. But then what's happened to Bottas and Verstappen, they've caught the train that Alonso's kind of holding everyone up, and Ocon's got DRS, then Raikkonen, then Vettel, then Leclerc, then Gasly and Bottas.
I was just about to say, you can see it from this camera angle as they approach the back straight. On board now with Max Verstappen. Is he looking at a move on Valtteri Bottas? Is he going down the inside? He's going to try, and he's going to succeed as well. Verstappen has cleared Valtteri Bottas. That's a big move for Max Verstappen in the championship battle, because he's now free of one Mercedes, and he can use his pace advantage on the cars ahead of him to to try and get into the top 10.
What can you say? That's the difference, isn't it? He just charges his way through. He got one chance, and Bottas must have knew he was coming. Why did he not protect that?
Well, we could see it was coming, although we had a very good view on board with Max Verstappen from the front wing, but there was no defence put up. I know there's a patient game, I know there's a long way to go, but couldn't Valtteri Bottas have just put up a bit more of a stout defence there?
Well, of course, Verstappen would have went the other way, but you've got to make it a bit difficult. He's the one that's overtaken. Make him go the long rerun. Make him think about it. You've got to think about the championship here, and if Mercedes did throw that engine in there to make life difficult for Verstappen, which some people are suspicious of, well, Verstappen's just excluded that one, hasn't he?
Yeah, on lap 6 of 53, this is the move that's taken Max Verstappen past Valtteri Bottas. It was only a move for 14th place, but in the context of this race and the championship, as we edge towards the final third of the season, that could be absolutely massive.
That could be the argument, not getting a contract for next year.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if Christian Horner has got Pierre Gasly on speed dial still, which I assume he has in his mobile phone, the call might be coming through in a minute. That's Max behind you, Pierre. Don't hold him up too much.
That telephone call must have happened last night, hadn't it? But you see, Gasly's got DRS as well, and he's got all the same engine modes that Max has got. But, you know, if Max can go by a Mercedes, I'm sure he can go by an AlphaTauri. What's happened here? Sainz, plan A +3, so they're going a little bit longer than the plan that they expected to do.
So, I would imagine they're looking at a one-stopper, so extend this stint out by 3 laps, and then we're on course.
Well, that comes down to probably what they were planning was to be running P2 and do an undercut, but of course they can go a bit longer now. They're controlling that.
Right, so it's Sainz ahead of Norris.
Daniel, could be plan B, could be plan B.
Okay. Because whilst Carlos Sainz is all working out very well for him, and plan A is looking good, for Daniel Ricciardo, he's stuck in that DRS train. You can see another one down the main straight as well. Well, that's the battle for 13th. Ricciardo's stuck in the battle for 4th at the moment, and Anthony Davidson stuck at Sky Race Control, but he loves it there.
Just listening to Pierre Gasly's radio, and quite interestingly, it just told him that Bottas is very close behind Max Verstappen. And I think that could be a coded message, perhaps. It's
yeah,
maybe let him buy in a little bit of time.
Who was saying that? Was that Christian Horner or was that Pierre Hamlin, his race?
It was his engineer, but where it came from, we don't know.
Oh, you really know if it's Dr. Marco, then you really have to pay attention.
Pierre, listen. Right, Sainz from Norris, Russell from Stroll, Ricciardo from Hamilton, Perez from Alonso, Ocon and Raikkonen, the top 10 at the moment. But Max Verstappen in 14th, kind of stuck in that train from Raikkonen downwards with Valtteri Bottas now off the back of that. And, well, we still got 20 running here on 8 laps here in Sochi.
I can see why McLaren are thinking about plan B, the 2-stop. You can see the marbles, the tyres must be chewing up. And this is where Hamilton will be struggling because the kind of freshness has come out the compound. You just can't be comfortable. Max Verstappen 3/10 behind Gasly now. Has he managed to pass him?
He has managed to pass him into the same corner that he got Valtteri Bottas. Max Verstappen has now got past Pierre Gasly. Same move, same corner, another place made up.
But I think where Mercedes might play the counter with Red Bull, certainly Verstappen's case, will they just throw Bottas on a 2-stop so he gets the track position again if he were to go that way? Are they just going to focus one way? But I think starting on a hard, you've kind of got to say it's a 1-stop at that point.
Well, it gives you options. That the hard tyre here should do 45 laps. So say Pirelli leaving you 8 laps for a soft tyre if you want at the end, or you can come in that little bit earlier. The pit window, as far as we're being told, is anywhere between lap 10 and lap 25. So it's a big pit window here as Nicholas Latifi on the inside of Antonio Giovinazzi forces the Alfa Romeo out a little bit wider than Giovinazzi would want to be, and Latifi is ahead in 17th, and this is Max Verstappen down the back straights.
I think Pierre had actually lost DRS actually from the cars in front. I think he'd just been out of there, but he did make it difficult for him, and rightly so. But Sainz and Norris got a great chance of winning this race. Absolutely great chance of winning it.
Now, Lando Norris, who started on pole and at one stage was 2 seconds behind Carlos Sainz, as you can see, has now forced his way back just a little bit closer now and has DRS and is gaining. And you can see the DRS effect. It's about 15 kilometers an hour at the end of the straight.
Yeah, he's starting to hurt me up a lot, but should be okay.
And he...
I need to start pushing, I think.
So Sainz is trying to manage his tyres a little bit, maybe fuel consumption as well, because this is very tough on fuel consumption, so you'll see a bit of lifting and coasting later on.
Clear as day, they were managing pace management there to try and do it, and that was based on the team telling Carlos it's +3, +3, and you already have a calculation of how you're going to approach it, and if the team say that to you, that's where it's going to be difficult. There's that rain cell. It doesn't look like it's getting any closer, but just a swift change of the wind, and it's not too far in the distance.
We don't necessarily need rain at the moment, but Carlos Sainz would like a bit more pace, because here comes Lando Norris again, and he's positioned that Ferrari in a very nice place indeed to force Lando Norris just to stay behind him for that little bit longer. He was trying to make him go on the inside route, which is not necessarily the fastest way to overtake at that particular corner, and Verstappen is catching Leclerc.
And Leclerc and Vettel having a battle. You can see on that screen, that small screen in the distance.
Yeah,
and there's Leclerc
still ahead, just.
Great on my left front.
And Hamilton has been stuck behind Ricciardo, and at one stage Fernando Alonso is starting to suffer on his tyres a bit as Charles Leclerc goes around the outside of Sebastian Vettel, and this could be key, but for Leclerc it's disappointment for the time being, because he stays behind the former Ferrari driver.
It says it's easy flat through turn 3, but did you see the wobble that Verstappen had through turn 3?
Whoa! Verstappen was trying an opportunist move down the inside there and had to back out, but he has got ahead of Charles Leclerc, who goes wide and might be struggling a touch on his tyres. We'll see in a moment, but Sebastian Vettel stays 11th, Verstappen now up to 12, Leclerc 13th. That was almost big trouble for Max Verstappen, but he came out of it a place ahead.
Yeah, because he stuck his nose in, and I think it feared Leclerc, and then Leclerc went a bit too hard in because he knew he had to do it. But there's Verstappen's got the DRS on Vettel. He's going to set him up and probably try and do it later in the lap. But the wobble that Verstappen had through turn 3, Crofty.
Well, let's have a little look again. We're beyond turn 3 now. Verstappen can see what is going on ahead as Leclerc goes down the inside of Vettel, goes too deep. Vettel thinks, I'll get you back. Thank you very much indeed. And now Verstappen is just going to go on the inside, and they might have touched, you know.
Nice job keeping
Is my front wing okay? Yeah, I'll check the front wing.
We'll have a look.
And I'm not surprised he's asking there. Lando Norris has got a really good exit, by the way, out of turn 2. Just for one moment, thought there might be a gap to try and go on and take the lead of this race. Around to turn 3 we go, braking zone into turn 4, they head right, and Norris stays behind Carlos Sainz. There are battles absolutely everywhere on this track. Meanwhile, George Russell losing touch with the front 2 and being told just to lift a bit earlier before the corners to try and save fuel, to try and keep temperature in his brakes. Lifting and coasting, there's a few that are going to have to do it today, because this is very, very high on fuel consumption, this track.
Confirmation in my ear that Verstappen's team have told him his wing look will say it looked fine to me as well. You see, this was a boring race, Crofty. I mean, what a challenge this is going to be. And they can actually sit close to each other, which I think is the most important thing. They're able to challenge even into turn 4 through that flat-out left-hander.
It's never a boring race, Paul, when you've got faster cars behind slower cars, and that's what this grid has given us today. With no disrespect to those that design the Ferrari or the McLaren, there are faster cars behind them. At the moment, though, which is the fastest to try and take the lead of this race? And Sainz is finding a bit of pace. Norris has had to just drop back a bit, maybe to preserve his tyres, maybe he hasn't got the pace to challenge Sainz when Sainz is going flat out. Either way, the net result is as they come down the straight, for the next time, no DRS for Lando Norris. It's worth 15 kilometres an hour down that straight, which is quite a big difference when you want to overtake.
Yeah, not when you want to pass a Williams, though, is it? Everybody's struggling. I mean, George Russell, he's keeping them all behind him. Look, they're all there, but he's comfortable enough to keep carrying on. I think if it goes on another 10 laps this stint, he's just going to keep going.
And if you look here, Paul, 9 seconds the difference, the gap now, Lewis Hamilton to Max Verstappen, only 9 seconds. Verstappen started 20th, Hamilton started 4th.
We expected it to be more, but I think where it's hurting them is obviously the impact of this DRS train, and Verstappen, he's now stuck behind Vettel, and Vettel's shown today so far he's not going to make it easy for him, and of course Vettel has got the benefit of Raikkonen being in front as well.
Did you say that you thought Verstappen could go on and win this race?
I don't think he can go on and win it, not with anything. Well, you never know with the tyres, do you? Absolutely can't count it out, but I would say Norris is, to me, looks favourite at the moment.
Red Bull's target, by the way, for Max Verstappen, top 5 in this race. They reckon that is possible. Hans, let's go to you.
Yeah, so just been listening to Sainz's radio. He's come on to say, guys, this is more difficult than expected. I think he's talking about the tyres. George Russell, meanwhile, said, tyres feel great.
Yeah, my front left is completely gone.
Right, well, front left, is that the one that normally takes the pounding round here, Paul?
Yes, it is. I mean, of course, because he's in the dirt here as well. But what Verstappen has got in his garage, in his toolbox, is an extra set of hard tyres for today, Crofty. Yep. So yes, if he turns it into a two-stop, he only has to do one stint on a lower fuel level already than Hamilton's got for, say, at the start. And there it goes. We're looking at the front left tyre, so that's the right-hand side of your screen, and you can see, yeah, that looks nasty. You can see about an inch on the inner shoulders, okay, but then it's grained up, and of course what that does is the gauge comes out, temperature comes out,
Into the pits comes Lance Stroll. The undercut is powerful here. So you pit before the driver in front, you get fresh tyres, use that pace to get ahead of the driver in front by the time they make their pit stop. And they are triggering the undercut here at Aston Martin. They found a gap to get Stroll back into this race behind Valtteri Bottas.
It's a nightmare scenario, obviously, for Mercedes, that, because that already means that Stroll is still going to continue to stay in front of Hamilton if they were to react.
Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel ahead of Max Verstappen and ahead of Charles Leclerc. 10th, 11th and 12th separated by about a second down to Karun.
Yeah, Coffee, the gap they found is behind Bottas. Stroll is going to come out between Bottas and Mazepin, and that's going to be crucial because there's an 11-second gap of completely free air. So Paul's 100% right. This is bad news for Hamilton and Mercedes because he's going to have free air on fresh tyres and going to nail some very quick laps. It's going to trigger, guys, the other stoppers.
Cheers, Karun.
Yeah, through the last sector is incredible.
Okay, so he's saying he can't get through the last sector behind, but I'm just looking at Verstappen's front left tyre. It doesn't look quite as nice as I thought it would, given that's a harder cover.
Norris leads the race. Lando Norris has got past Carlos Sainz. He's been trying for a while, dropped back just a touch, complained about his tyres, certainly his front left tyre, but has now managed to get enough grip to put the brakes on late enough to get past Carlos Sainz and go on to take the lead of this race. So the man who is on pole position is back out in front, and Max Verstappen's having a go at Sebastian Vettel and has passed him. So let's have a look now at Lando Norris down the back straight on Carlos Sainz, and he got it done before the braking zone.
Yeah, textbook, absolutely spot on. If you want to cover that way, I'll go the other way.
Got him.
Got him.
Yeah, we saw that. And I believe that's for George Russell, but Max Verstappen was able to pass Vettel on the inside down into turn 13.
So Russell stops now. Have Aston Martin triggered the undercut, and is it going to be successful? Because Lance Stroll is making his way down the main straight as George Russell now comes out from his pit stop, and Stroll has got past George Russell. As Russell comes out onto the racetrack, Lance Stroll has made his way past the man who was in third before the pit stops. So the undercut very much working, but now Ricciardo and Hamilton are in a bit of a no man's land problem here, Paul, because if they were to pit now, they'd be nowhere near Stroll and Russell. So how much longer can they go on this stint?
Yeah, but we're Ricciardo. He's not got the benefit of the guys in front getting the slipstream and the DRS now. So can Hamilton, has he saved enough of his tyre? But of course he's got Perez behind him, who's on a hard tyre, whose tyres have been much better shape. So what do Mercedes do here? They follow or they keep going? This is this overtake between Verstappen and Vettel.
Once again, down the back straight, which is proving to be a very nice place for overtaking for Max Verstappen today.
That Red Bull's looking solid on the brakes, isn't it? Not even a hint of a lock-up. Sparking away as the titanium skid smashes into the floor, all the rake that the Red Bull carries, but that's a good impact that he's made coming through up into the top 10 now.
And that's at least the third overtake we have seen Max Verstappen make into that corner. Carlos Sainz, now he's lost the lead, is coming out for a very late call, it looks like, to change tyres.
This is the cover for Stroll, but I think this very much pushes them onto a two-stop race.
We shall see. Down to Karun.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz coming past me here into the pits. The Ferrari mechanics ready for... There was a lot of excitement on the opening lap when he got the lead, and they have triggered it. Whether this spell triggers, Norris coming. Slow on the rear left, Crofty. Slow on the rear left for Carlos Sainz. That's going to be bad news. Guys, I am completely confused by what Mercedes have done here with Hamilton. Why didn't they bring him in? Because you're absolutely right.
Well, Karun, I'll come back to that in a moment. They might have left him out there to try and get track position, but that's not going to work for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, because as you can see, Carlos Sainz coming back out onto the track. Lance Stroll is right behind him. So they had to make that move, Ferrari, to stay ahead of Lance Stroll. Meanwhile, Hamilton stuck behind Daniel Ricciardo and not making an impression on the McLaren. I'm with Karun on this. What's the strategy, Paul?
I honestly can't work it out, but Norris, if he doesn't get in soon as well, he's going to be vulnerable because the undercut's massive. I mean, Lance Stroll just did a 140.7 that last lap versus Lando Norris on a 141.5. So do McLaren follow, or do they play the long game and say, well, the tyres are going to be in better shape later on? And there's Verstappen got the DRS now on Kimi Räikkönen. Is he going to be close enough to make the same move that he made to Vettel just a couple of laps earlier?
It's possible these early stoppers are going to be struggling in the last 5 or 6 laps of this race. You're absolutely right, Paul. Karun, back down to you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I mean...
Oh, 2 seconds, Karun.
I think it's a good day, so I can continue.
And Lando, what do you think about target lap? How far past it?
Everything seems okay. I'm picking up some vibrations now. That's the only thing.
I'm surprised McLaren aren't telling him about the pace, because as Paul highlighted, Stroll last time round took a massive chunk, nearly a second out of him, and 1.4 out of Hamilton. So is this a question of we're seeing 2 stops versus a 1 stop here? It'll unfold in the next 10 laps or so, guys.
Charles Leclerc, the only man to reach the podium here in Sochi before making more than 1 pit stop in the race. Meanwhile, on the hard tyre, Max Verstappen has been released. Charles Leclerc, with DRS behind him, has been released too, because Ocon and Raikkonen have both pitted.
This is Red Bull's race. This is Red Bull race with Verstappen. How close can he get himself to Hamilton, who's only 8 seconds further up the road? But that was perfect for them if they ever want to be released at a certain point. And then I think what Leclerc will try and do is just pull himself along with Verstappen and use that slipstream. There's no point in trying to fight the Red Bull.
The one thing that is working at the moment, Hamilton hasn't made his stop, might have lost a bit of ground with that undercut, might be thinking Mercedes, we can make that ground back up at the end of the race. Are Mercedes just mirroring with Lewis Hamilton what Max Verstappen is doing?
Yeah, but they've got the wrong tyre. They're going onto the tyre, a different tyre. Of course, it's the tyre you can go a bit longer. Stuck behind Ricciardo is not going to make it very easy. I mean, I think McLaren are very much, they're stuck to go for the 1 stop, and I think the others have definitely gone for that undercut and probably potentially looking for the impact at the end.
It is Norris leading from Daniel Ricciardo. McLaren, the only team this season with a 1-2 finish, are 1-2 a race later here in Sochi. But this time around, it's Norris leading, it's Ricciardo second, Lewis Hamilton in third, Sergio Perez running in fourth, ahead of Fernando Alonso, and then comes Max Verstappen from 20th up to 6th at the moment. Charles Leclerc, who had a super start and made up a lot of places early on, now sits behind Verstappen. Then comes Sebastian Vettel, Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas.
Verstappen's a second a lap quicker than the cars in front of him. He took 1.2 seconds out of Hamilton that last lap.
The way this is going, we're going to see Verstappen and Hamilton very close to each other on the track soon. And we didn't think that this morning, did we?
What are you saying, Crofty?
Well, you know, last time they met, got a bit close, a bit too close for comfort for them. It might happen here.
And he's got a nice fresh new engine in the back there, that Honda. We know when they're fresh. Mercedes, we're seeing how quick it was in Paul Ricard, when strategically I think that's what won them that race, was taking that engine that weekend.
Absolutely. The Red Bull that is closest to Lewis Hamilton at the moment is Sergio Perez, who's also lapping just that little bit faster, and Perez could start to get his elbows out and make life very difficult for the 7-time world champion too. There's your pit stop order at the moment. Oh, actually, let's see this replay first of Lewis Hamilton's tyres. Once again, we look to the front left.
I think Hamilton's in management mode at the moment, Crofty. I think he'd need some free air, to be honest, to be let loose. It looks nice, but you would expect that. That's what Lewis is an absolute genius at, isn't it? He's been able to use the tyre as much as possible, but still have some in reserve for when he needs it to make an overtake. But that McLaren is just too quick in the straight, as it was in Monza.
We're not saying it's crisis time for Hamilton. What we're saying is he's more than talented enough to make up for what isn't quite going according to plan as it stands. And what he wouldn't have wanted was to have been passed at the start in the way that he was.
No, of course, and what they can't do, they can't get in the pits now because they've lost out to Stroll, Russell, and Carlos Sainz, essentially, who's moved on.
Right, Karun, that's you.
I think Max Verstappen's been to the Lewis Hamilton School of Acting, Crofty. As he did the fastest lap of the race, he came on the radio and said the front left tyre is dead. So they're all playing these games now, but Verstappen pushing on. Another fast lap, 40.2. And he's He's taken, once again, 1.3 seconds out of Hamilton on the last lap.
He has. He's now just 3 and a bit seconds behind Fernando Alonso. Alonso's not going to make it easy for Verstappen to try and get past him. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Remember Hungary, when Alonso kept Hamilton at bay for so long?
I think the track improvement is masking the dig at the moment, but pace is still good.
Did you see the rain in the distance over there, Crofty?
Of course I did. It's looking grim. Somewhere over Vladimir's mother's again.
If the tyre front left screen are already in Max, then this maybe goes in favour of Lewis in the race, because then he's going to run out of tyre because Max needs to fit the medium tyre, which is obviously the softer compound, and you can't push too hard on that, because if you grain it up very early you're going to struggle. But then what you can do is have 2 short bursts and just try and make massive gain on lap time to gain the distance. Here comes Hamilton again as we ride with Daniel Ricciardo looking from the rear wing. See the moisture on the rear wing as well. It's close, isn't it? It's coming. It's coming. And just to put into context what Lando Norris was just saying there, the track improvement is masking the deck. We had a lot of rain here yesterday, so the track, all the rubber that was laid down on Friday was all washed away. So it's a very green, unraced on hardly surface that we are now racing on today. We had an F3 race this morning, we had F2, but you know the difference that F1 makes, and you can see the black lines actually where the cars have been running, just cleaning the track up as it's went on. But they're all, like you say, the tyres have started to clean up, and that's always a thing. If you're front limited, that can sometimes come back, but of course if it just cools off that little bit, then you're going to struggle. Max Verstappen, another fastest lap of the race, 40.1 for this lap, and he's done a 40.2 the 2 laps before that. So consistency is key. That would tell me it is masking the fuel burn versus degradation, where exactly they are. But every lap that Max does, Mercedes then say, well, hold on a minute, we can go a bit longer on that tyre because we've got the data from the Red Bull. And what the teams all do now is they all take pictures of each other's tyres as well to try and get an impression on that. And they'll sit watching the TV pictures as well and looking at it in close detail. You can barely see some of the hills now, such as the rain that is around the circuit here in Sochi. There's snow on top of the mountains, which is unusual to see so much snow on top of the mountains at this time of the year. It's normally hot and sunny here in Sochi. Today, it's only 21 degrees track temperature, 19 degrees air temperature. It's quite cool for a Sochi race. So all that historical data that the teams have got isn't really giving them much advantage as well. Ricciardo looked like he got on the marbles just a touch from me coming out of turn 11. Hamilton a lot closer to him by the time they got into turn 13, and Verstappen now 5 seconds, under 5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Credit to McLaren to be absolutely focused on what they've got to do. The team have taken the next step, haven't they? Absolutely this year. Confirmation of that in Monza, how they went about it. This is on merit. Lando Norris pulling out a great lap time, but Daniel Ricciardo, he's doing a superb job as well. He's within 10 seconds, but of course that 10 seconds plays such a key part because the likes of Sainz and Stroll and Russell are all going to fall in that region when Ricciardo comes out, as opposed to where Norris is going to fall in. Just watch Hamilton as we are at the moment from the rear wing of that McLaren. Look how much he's gaining on Daniel Ricciardo. He's not gaining enough, but might just have been recharging his battery on the previous lap to go for a really big push lap here and try and clear that McLaren. Yeah, he almost wants to do it here where there's no slipstream.
Still looking at a top 5 finish.
Wild. Well, okay, managing the pace for Valtteri Bottas, we haven't really talked about much. He's 25 seconds behind Lando Norris, the race leader. 25 seconds is about what you lose for a pit stop. Neither Bottas nor Norris have made a pit stop so far. So I guess they're saying that because Sainz, who was running P1, P2, is now just on the back of Bottas. So that would tell you that even Mercedes are thinking those cars that have stopped early have went that way. And that's what McLaren have been able to do. They've been able to extend it, and that grain has come back. But there's Max Verstappen well in the shot now. He's going to get a glimpse of Lewis Hamilton very soon, just further down the road. And what he'll want to do is clear Fernando Alonso quite quickly. The gap between Lando Norris, by the way, and Carlos Sainz, about 28 seconds at the moment. Sainz is getting ever closer to Valtteri Bottas. They're putting in very similar lap times. That was the 1-2 before Sainz pitted. You lose 25 seconds in the pit stop. I wanted to see that screen a bit longer. That tells me something. That's all the data you look at as a driver, all those lines, and they've got the predictions of where they come out, and when they've got nice new rubber on, where that goes to. You don't want to see the predictions, Paul. Just enjoy it. Is it happening? No, I just want to see where they are in track position to give you that impression. I'm not saying it tells you where it's going to be, but it shows the ramp up, and the teams run the simulation so you can see that. Right. Anthony Davidson, are they getting ready at Mercedes? Are they going to take Lewis Hamilton's advice?
Well, I've been watching Max Verstappen's onboard for the last couple of laps, and like you said, guys, the graining is starting to clear up. That front left tyre that was looking a little bit angry a few laps ago, it's actually looking the best it has. I think the circuit's getting more rubber on it, and that helps the tyres. So for the guys that pitted early, maybe it wasn't such a good move after all. They could have saved them, and yeah, like McLaren have been able to do.
I tell you who's doing a superb job. Charles Leclerc just went within 4/10 of what Verstappen had done, and he was some 8/10 quicker than Verstappen on that last lap, doing a 40.5 versus the guys in front of him on a 41.7.
It's going to be fascinating the way this race is going to pan out, because at the moment those on the hard compound tyre are looking like they're having a very good race. They've then got to go on to the mediums, and those that started on the mediums are going to run the hards to the end. What's going to be the best race tyre at the end, I wonder?
Don't underestimate the mass and the difference that makes to how quickly you burn through a softer tyre. So at the end of the race, you fit a soft, it's much more durable because you've not got all that fuel pushing the front end, especially if it's front limited. That's where it generally protects as you come down in fuel load.
Lewis Hamilton trailing Daniel Ricciardo just ahead of Sergio Perez, and just coming up now to the pit lane entry. Is Hamilton going to dive into the pits? Not yet, he's not.
I'm surprised they don't bring Perez in to get track position on Hamilton just to make his life difficult so he can't do the undercut.
Current tyre age laps from Norris all the way down to Bottas. They've been on those tyres right from the start. From Sainz, 11th, to Stroll and then Russell, fresher tyres. They've made their stop. Giovinazzi in 14th hasn't stopped yet. And then Ocon, Raikkonen, Latifi, Tsunoda, Mazepin and Schumacher have all been in for a pit stop.
Perez was having a little bit of a move there to try and have a glimpse into Hamilton. You could see Hamilton almost taking a reaction to try and do it, and they were on board with Perez. Look at his front tyre, does it all look okay? And Perez, we know if anything he can do, it comes into when the tyres need to be preserved to go that longer into the race. Maybe he's been sitting there quietly confident just to carry on, and Hamilton standing on the loud pedal there, big handful of oversteer into a 90 right. It's about 3 corners time he needs to be closer, because that's when you start to get the DRS. But you can see the Mercedes-Benz power cars in front well into the recharge, because you can see the rear light flashing as they charge up the battery.
Standing on the loud pedal, Hamilton needs about as much about as heavy a force as Meatloaf's lunch at the moment to try and get past Daniel Ricciardo, but it's not happening for him. Karun, down to you.
It's drizzling in the pit lane, Crofty. So they're going to have to factor that in. That's, I think, why.
2 seconds.
Okay, Lando, gap to Vettel 25.4. This is almost the Germany situation. We want to extend if we can, but no risk. Pace is good.
Yeah, to make that pit stop just a little bit more comfortable.
Mercedes in the pit lane, Crofty. Mercedes mechanics are running out into the pit lane. They're carrying a set of hard compound guys, and McLaren in the pit lane as well, right next to me. So we've got both teams here. We've seen Daniel Ricciardo, I think, is the McLaren who's coming in. I can see Mercedes further down. Hard compound tires getting ready here for McLaren. Let's listen in as he comes in the pit box. Spots. Oh, they're slow. It's a slow pit stop, Crofty.
We can see he's still stationary. Finally, Daniel Ricciardo is released. So Mercedes did the opposite to McLaren, maybe pulled the bluff, the double bluff. It seemed a strange decision when Karun said it's drizzling in the pit lane to start to come in for a new set of tyres now if you're going to put the slicks on. But what's made it worse for Daniel Ricciardo is that he was held for quite a long time, and he comes out now behind Esteban Ocon, down in 14th place.
Yeah, nightmare. He should have been well clear of that, but of course a bad pit stop, you fall 3-4 seconds. These teams are pulling these pit stops when they know they're going to come out 1 second up the road. But Charles Leclerc is still motoring here, Crofty. He's just done the best first sector of anybody in this race so far, as they start to join the back of that pack that Hamilton's holding up.
Now let's have a look at Daniel Ricciardo's pit stop here, and remember, all the teams are struggling with these new pit stop regulations. The front left tyre is on, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the light to go green. And there's more human input into the light going green before the driver gets released than there was before Spa. Spa's when the regulations changed around, and it was one of the compounding factors.
He's lost his toe. Come on.
Into Max Verstappen's lengthy pit stop in Monza last time out. It was human error, if you can call it error, in this high-pressured situation, and that might be what happened at McLaren there as well.
It did, definitely. You could see the man with the lollipop almost saying, reaching over to the front left fortunately and saying, switch the button on your wheel gun and it will release the car, because of course until that's all done, the car won't move.
So, with Norris leading from Hamilton, and Hamilton now in nice clean air that he can use to his advantage, do Mercedes now leave Lewis Hamilton out with Verstappen stuck in traffic, as you can see?
Yeah, I think they do. I think what Verstappen needs to do is he needs to get past Alonso, like I said, but he just doesn't look like he's got enough tyre left, actually. I think he's used a lot of his tyre earlier in the race to get by the others.
Okay, copy, Max.
I can't turn the car.
I can't turn the car, says Max Verstappen.
Confirmation the tyre's gone, so we're 24 laps in. Obviously, if he stops now, he's got a sizable stint, actually more than he's got now, but I think where Red Bull are probably just very comfortable where Verstappen is he's not that far from Hamilton.
And there's the man out in front, Lando Norris, who lost the lead at the first corner, or first braking zone in this race, where Carlos Sainz got past him. He retook that lead and is carrying on now and putting in some very nice times. But behind him, Hamilton is half a second quicker after maybe managing his tyres just a little bit more. He's got the pace in that Mercedes, but he's a long way back, 12.5 seconds the gap. Sergio Perez isn't in DRS range, and Red Bull need him to get the hammer down and to start closing on Lewis Hamilton, because he's holding up not just Fernando Alonso but his teammate Max Verstappen as well, who runs in 5th place on lap 25 out of 53 with rain threatening. When is Lando Norris going to come in? They're standing waiting patiently by the tyres. It's got to be soon, hasn't it, Karun?
Yeah, it must be. I mean, I'm standing right next to the McLaren pit stop. The mechanics all seem pretty relaxed, actually, next to me. It's, so I don't think it is this lap. Lewis Hamilton has just said the fastest lap having been released, as you said. The trouble for Max Verstappen, of course, his tyre might be dead, Paul, but he's got to do the second stint on a medium tyre. He could, if he came in now, he'd have to do, what are we talking, 28 laps on the second stint with less fuel. It is possible, of course, because these guys up at the front have now done 24 already, so they could just switch to the one stop and pick at the same time as Lewis, but they need to do something different, don't they, if they want to get ahead of him?
I've got your message, Max.
Yeah. Now Lewis is just pulling away while we'll have to go super close.
There's not much space behind, to be honest with you.
So they're trying to find a gap. If Verstappen was to pit now, would he come out neck and neck with Esteban Ocon, which is not where they'd want him to be?
No, I think they're doing the right thing. I mean, ultimately, he's had to pass so many cars, but I think they can do... They just want to go maybe 5-6 laps longer, and then they'll go on the medium tyre, and they can see it can happen. Look at what Norris has been able to do, but what you have to do is protect it. I don't think Verstappen needs to be racing Hamilton today. No. He needs to be racing the others, and that's what he needs to do. Think about the championship, damage limitation. If Hamilton doesn't win this race, then just be 3rd, 4th if you can, because I think where he's got to now already, it's been a superb race so far.
For Hamilton, suddenly the pace is now coming his way. This race has just swung a touch for Lewis Hamilton, as you would see on the graphic, would retake the championship lead as well. How's this race looking around the final quarter for Charles Leclerc? He's still right on the coattails of Max Verstappen. His teammate Carlos Sainz was leading this race at one stage. He, along with Stroll and Russell and Ricciardo, made their pit stops. Those early pit stops, Paul. How's the race kind of looking for those guys at the moment?
Yeah, very difficult actually, because they've just got stuck. They're stuck actually behind Gasly and Vettel, who are still continue to go on. But you can see all McLaren are going to do, they're just going to shadow Hamilton, and they've probably got a 1 or 2 lap window just to go a bit longer to make it more comfortable. And we can see there's absolutely nothing Hamilton can do with a McLaren if he gets nice clean exits. He was stuck behind Ricciardo. Even when he didn't have the benefit of cars in front of him, he could still on you go. But Sergio Perez is starting to pressure Hamilton. Hamilton's went on a bit of a charge, but I think already if you go on a charge too much, you just open up the tyre too much, and there's Hamilton missing turn 2.
Don't want to be doing that very often. What I would say is that Hamilton's got about a 3-second safety buffer if he wants to pit now on Daniel Ricciardo. Such is the pace now that he's been freed. And still out in front is Lando Norris. Lando Norris coping superbly well with this race so far. Hasn't won yet in Formula 1.
We are looking to a P5 finish. Going ahead like this, you're doing a good job.
Only P5.
He's not very happy, and he knows that's why that early pit stop where it's the sacrifices. But I think Charles Leclerc's in a good position actually to beat. Is this Hamilton coming in the pits, or is this going to be Hamilton's in the pits?
Hamilton is coming in after that big lockup that we saw. It's hardly a surprise, and he's got that little buffer to Daniel Ricciardo. So Karun, take us through the pit stop.
And Red Bull in the pits as well. With a
so much, Karun, and Daniel Ricciardo just coming past the start-finish line as we watch now Carlos Sainz making a very important move indeed on Valtteri Bottas. Bottas hasn't pitted yet, Sainz has, but he needed to try and clear the Mercedes. Hamilton has come back out onto the track in 9th place. There's Max Verstappen getting past Esteban Ocon. I said he was going to come out close to Esteban Ocon. He's come out close and now ahead. And Daniel Ricciardo finds himself behind Lewis Hamilton after being out in front for the opening part of this race.
Yeah, he did, and you know, Daniel unfortunately had struggled in that pit stop and where he goes on, but here's Lando Norris.
Lando, how many more laps at this pace can you do?
I don't know, it feels very consistent at the moment. I feel like 10, but I'm not sure.
So is he leading a Formula One Grand Prix? He sounds so chirpy and yeah, it's just another Sunday afternoon.
He's in control, but if for anyone that's not got a timesheet, he's doing like just 41 dead, 41-1, 41 dead. He's just consecutively just doing the laps. Now the best we've seen in the Grand Prix is only a 39.9 by Hamilton, so it's well within the range, and what they're saying is if you can do another 4 laps like that.
Just worth pointing out as well, Hamilton, they pitted him and needed to pit him because Daniel Ricciardo had got past George Russell and therefore had been released a little bit to put down some extra pace. So that window to get Hamilton in and out ahead of Daniel Ricciardo would have fast disappeared.
And it's a 25-second window as well for a pit stop, roughly, we think, as well, on the calculation, give or take.
Okay, Lando, 100% pace, please, 100% pace.
He's coming in soon.
That's exactly what that means. Hamilton's just went purple, sector 2 and sector 3. Best of anybody, best of the laps that he's done as well, so he's want to make an impact. Next up, Stroll and then Bottas, and we know we'll get the wave by from Bottas.
And here goes Max Verstappen on George Russell, and Verstappen has managed to get past the Williams on fresher tyres, of course.
Okay, Lando, we will be boxing this lap. We are going to box this lap.
Confirm.
Russell started third on the grid in this race, now down to 12th, the Williams race. Not there for him this afternoon.
I think the benefit that Norris is going to have, he's going to be well in front of this group of cars, so they've got Gasly, Sainz, Bottas, Stroll and Hamilton, and what McLaren will want to do is keep in front of that and not let them go into that window, because when Hamilton gets through there, that will damage his tire. More than anything.
It certainly will. Lando Norris, who before that and that whole train of cars, Karun.
Yeah, it was a great pit stop. I was standing here, Coffee. The guys on the front left in particular was super nervous. You see them after pit stop for Ricciardo. They weren't happy about it, but big high fives this time round. I think Bottas has come into the pit. Well, very quick pit stop there for Mercedes, but huge relief here at McLaren, especially for the mechanics of the front left. Well done to them. Great recovery after that poor pit stop for Ricciardo.
So Sergio Perez now leads this race. Says that we've had Norris, we've had Sainz, and now Perez, third leader of this race. Fernando Alonso is up in the 2nd place, and Charles Leclerc runs in 3rd, with Lando Norris now in 4th. First, 2nd, and 3rd haven't pitted yet. Just to remind you, Max Verstappen has pitted, Paul. We saw him coming in, and is now the fastest man out on the racetrack.
I just wonder if he's gone for a 2-stop now, Crofty, because he looks like he's hitting it very hard. He's just done a 38.3. That's a quick lap, a very quick lap. And to put that load through that tyre for that long, I don't think it can take that much of an impact. So this is where Red Bull are going to be throwing it at them. And what they need to do is just have a very short burst. But would they fit a hard tyre after that, or would they fit another medium? I think you could probably fit another medium and hit it hard again.
They've certainly got an extra set of hards should they wish to use it. I'm sure.
And tyres are healthy. Try to give it a go with Gasly.
Tires are
healthy, you can push.
He is pushing, just locked up a little bit there, Carlos Sainz. But he needs to try and clear Pierre Gasly, and behind these comes Lewis Lewis Hamilton, who will be wishing that Carlos Sainz can get past Pierre Gasly, because he needs to try and clear the AlphaTauri as well. Stroll ahead of Ricciardo behind that particular scrap. You can see them coming around the final corner now, and it'll be DRS for Hamilton certainly, and as well for Carlos Sainz down that main straight. Hamilton has got fresher tyres, and he's got better pace than Carlos Sainz, and into the first braking zone they go. At turn 2, Hamilton makes the move on Carlos Sainz.
Mercedes is absolutely rapid in a straight line, isn't it, if it gets a good slipstream?
Lewis, you can win this race.
Toto is giving Lewis Hamilton the encouragement. He got past Lance Stroll, and now he got past Carlos Sainz, and now he's got Pierre Gasly in his sights, and Pierre Gasly has been on those hard compound tyres for 30 laps, so you wouldn't imagine would be much of a stumbling block.
Absolutely not. We said Lewis was going to be favourite at the start of this race, and yes, he's got 23 laps to track down Lando Norris and see what he can do, but Sergio Perez is doing a very good job, Crofty. He's going to come out on a set of medium tyres as well, and he'll be in a very good position and able to attack quite hard, and I think that's what Red Bull are probably playing that on.
Here comes Lewis Hamilton on Pierre Gasly. He got rid of Carlos Sainz in the opening part of this lap. Goes down the inside on Pierre Gasly. And before they get to the braking zone at turn 13, Hamilton is up into 5th place. Toto Wolff says that he can go on and win this race. Well, we'll see how it pans out the next 22 laps. But Hamilton has made life a lot better for himself by getting those 2 moves done on lap 31.
He has, and look, he's got some nice free air. The only car in front of him actually is Lando Norris, who's a bit up the road. He'll get a glimpse maybe of the McLaren when he comes out this final corner as he just enters the straight, but Norris will be trying to ease his way into it. And there's confirmation. Lewis Hamilton at 1:38.2. He's just went best lap time of anybody. And there's the distance.
Change of tyres, and they will need to stop for a change of tyres. What could totally throw this race into complete chaos, Paul, would be if it started raining in about 5 laps' time, and all those that are thinking, it's okay, we've stopped, the others in front of us need to stop, or they might need to stop again.
It's already been proper busy, isn't it? Now, this is where Verstappen's probably going to struggle, because we know how quick the McLaren is in a straight line. And what he's got is to get by Ricciardo, and of course Stroll has got the benefit of the slipstream from Carlos Sainz just a little bit further up the road. And is Ricciardo going to make a move on Stroll just slightly back in the distance there?
Well, let's have a little look.
He's done him.
Carlos Sainz is trying to get past Pierre Gasly. As you said, Ricciardo has made the move on Lance Stroll, and right behind these two comes Max Verstappen.
And that's because they're vulnerable with the pit stop. Stroll was the first one in of the front runners. He's going to struggle, so is he going to get back in the pits to try and take another set of tyres? And what Verstappen will be trying to do, obviously, is make his move down at turn 2.
Well, surely Verstappen will have a massive pace advantage and better traction coming out of this final corner, because Verstappen has been on those tyres now for what, 4 laps? Stroll's been on them for 18.
Stroll got DRS, no, he's not got the benefit, so easy pass for Max Verstappen. You can see the Mercedes charging as well, so Verstappen will get back to the racing line. And there's turn 2, what we're talking about. Small jink of a chicane. Easy flat through turn 3, and I think Ricciardo, he's going to be going forward and going past Carlos Sainz very soon as well.
Well, let's see. Sainz, another one of those earlier stoppers, and that doesn't seem to have been the best way to run this race.
Very mature drive by Ricciardo again as well, isn't it? He's showing his class. Maybe not ultimately getting the speed out of the car, but when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, he's kind of getting back in the same zone he was last year, because I said he was 3rd best on the track next to Hamilton and Verstappen.
Form is temporary, class is permanent, and Daniel Ricciardo certainly has plenty of class, as does his teammate Lando Norris. We're looking at him now. You can argue that Lando Norris is the next leader of this race, because those in front of him, and there's a gap of just under 13 seconds to Sergio Perez. Perez, who is our race leader, do have to stop again. So whilst the top three are the top three, they're going to have to come in and lose 25 seconds for a pit stop, which would then take Lando Norris, and then he makes a mistake, back into the lead of this race.
Sergio Perez, if he pits now, only comes out on a softer compounded tyres and only within 5 seconds of Lewis Hamilton. And going longer.
Yeah.
If he goes another 5-6 laps, incredible.
Well, Red Bull need Sergio Perez to play his part in this championship battle. And it's a championship battle that has given us great entertainment all season long and will play out between now and Abu Dhabi. For the moment, though, powered by AWS, our battle forecast says that Hamilton will be within striking distance of Norris in 5 laps' time. Mercedes with 100% record here in Sochi could keep that record going, but Hamilton's going to have to do it the hard way here this afternoon. And to you.
Yeah, so Verstappen quite a few laps ago, even before he set that fastest lap of the race, was told, look, this is going to be a dead race in which he needs to look after the front left tyre. So it's hard for him to get past all this train of cars, but also look after those medium set of tyres.
So a dead race, meaning don't put too much stress through those tyres. Degradation is going to absolutely kill your grip by the end of this race. Look after them, nurse them, treat them like they're one of your own, Max, because you're not on a two-stopper.
Mick, we have to box to retire the car. We cannot resolve the issue and it's a decaying situation. I'm sorry about that, so box now please to retire the car.
Gary Gannon, the race engineer for Mick Schumacher, who becomes the first retirement. The 25th retirement in total from a Russian Grand Prix, and the first car to retire this season from the race in Sochi, as Gasly still keeps Carlos Sainz at bay, and Sainz is desperate to try and get past, because then Ricciardo and Verstappen desperate too behind him to try and get past. And well, that two-stop strategy, Paul, looked like that's what Verstappen was going for, but if he's told it's a dead race, it's not a two-stopper, it's a one-stopper, as Gasly finally comes into the pits and releases the rest.
Valtteri, get those guys in front of you for points.
Valtteri getting the hurry up now, as we see Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Now, Lando Norris has been into the pits, has fresher tyres on the inside at turn 3, puts himself back up into the podium places, and then continues on his way to hunt down Fernando Alonso.
But I tell you, Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc have been able to extend these stints, and this is where they're definitely going to be comfortable on a one-stop. They're going to be able to push maximum, and that's where Red Bull might be surprised by the likes of what Verstappen's going to be up against at the end, because I don't think he's going to get by that.
This is hurting Verstappen. That is very true. And if we take that phrase, dead race, but if it's a dead race for Verstappen, it could be for others as well. So the likes of Alonso, Perez, as you rightly say, Paul, they're going to be in a brilliant position coming into this race.
They can just continue to go. And I mean, Perez is still doing a 1:39.5. Hamilton's on a 1:33, but the likes of Norris, who's effectively leading the race on the pit stops, is now doing a 1:39.4, only a tenth quicker than what he can achieve.
Just look at the front left of Max Verstappen. Front left tyre on that Red Bull. I'm not sure it looks... the state that Max Verstappen would like it to at the moment. Saying that, we've seen drivers drive through that graining stage where the surface starts to bobble up a little bit. You don't get the contact patch on the ground, you don't get the grip that you want, but I think it's looking a little angrier than Verstappen would have wanted. And that gap, Hamilton to Norris, now down to 4.5 seconds. He's the fastest man on this race circuit at the moment. Lando Norris is up into the podium places. Leclerc is between the two of them. Alonso second, Perez first, and we're watching Carlos Sainz leading Daniel Ricciardo. Through
and oh, they're slow. Real left there for the Ferraris. So that's 2 slow Ferrari pit stops today. So that's bad news. He's going to drop down the cars are coming past on track. Just thinking back to that critical part of the race for Lewis Hamilton, the end of the first stint when he got released and he drove away from Verstappen. Remember that? Verstappen came on the radio, said he's pulling away. He cleared that pack of cars. He cleared that Ricciardo, Sainz and Stroll pack of cars where Verstappen is now stuck. So crucially, that's going to be the difference where Verstappen doesn't get ahead.
We just saw Valtteri Bottas and car number 16 Charles Leclerc having a lovely tussle going through that turn 2. We're now on board with Norris.
This pace is very good, Lewis.
So Hamilton being told he's got pretty good pace. Norris has got decent pace as well, but he'll start to see that black silver arrow. It's a Silver Arrow nickname, but obviously a black car for this season and last in his rear mirrors. Very shortly. Luckily for Lando Norris, Alonso's pitted, Perez has now pitted, and he can retake the lead, but clearly, Paul, he's got clear track in front of him, and that's what he wants.
Yeah, and Sergio Perez is in the pits as well, Crofty. You can see on the screen as well, and there's Perez being released. Nightmare scenario there. Alonso just getting in the way of Lando Norris, and there you go, and Sergio Perez having a shocking pit stop. 8.9. He's still going to come out in a very good position, but that could be crucial with the game that they were trying to play. Is he going to pop out the pits in front of Sainz?
Well, we'll see.
No, he's lost out.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz making his way down that main straight. Not only has he passed Sergio Perez, but Ricciardo has passed Sergio Perez. And Perez is now ahead of Max Verstappen. On pressure tyres, which isn't going to help Verstappen's race unless the team decide to swap them over with a bit of team orders. Out in front, Lando Norris leads this race. There's Lewis Hamilton in the background. Less than 3 seconds between the two British drivers. This is similar all over again. Can Norris keep Hamilton at bay this time?
And I think if they don't let Verstappen by Perez, here's that pit stop, then Alonso's going to go past it. Is it going to be released? Slow rear right. You can see they just can't get the tyre off.
So it's another pit stop error for the team that have mastered the sub 2 second pit stops, but it's another problem down at Red Bull as happened Max Verstappen. Monza, last time out, we've seen quite a few pit stops. Of it, targeting top 5 at Red Bull, targeting, well, what were McLaren targeting, I wonder. We'll come back to that in a moment. We'll see how Alonso got past Verstappen.
It's not going to happen, I think, Crofty, the top 5, unless they probably pit again, but if they pit, they've got a world of pain to go through. It's so bunched up today. Yeah. There's not the freedom, there's not the difference difference in lap time that's really opened up. There's Hamilton, absolutely on a charge.
And there is the points difference. 8 points Hamilton will have as a lead of the Drivers' Championship if it stays like it is at the moment. Verstappen complaining about his front left tyre. After being told to look after it, he's now complaining about the state of those tyres. He's not a very happy man with the way it's going. Hamilton, after a disappointing start, might be a bit happier as we close in towards the checkered flag here. He's a second and a half behind Lando Norris, going for his 100th win in Formula One against a man who's leading the race, who's yet to win in Formula One.
What Norris will be looking at, he's coming up towards the lap. Nikita Mazepin. Mazepin needs to stay out of the way. This is the battle for the race win, and of course Norris, he just wants to keep Hamilton out of DRS range, but that McLaren's superb on the straight. I'm hoped he's saved some overtake allowance that he's got, but equally, if I was a McLaren, I'd use a bit more overtake allowance to get a back-to-back. Race wins.
Look, for McLaren, they didn't think that a race win was necessary. Possible at Monza, and yes, Verstappen and Hamilton crashed out, but they were out in front with to Sochi and beyond for a race win. Well, that wasn't what Andreas Seidel, the team principal, was saying in the run-up here. He was saying, don't forget how bad we were in Zandvoort. Don't expect a miracle to happen at Sochi, but they've had the pace here this afternoon, and Norris has done very well there to lap Nikita Mazepin down the straight. To make a move on this particular occasion, and just ahead of Ricciardo is Carlos Sainz. Perez could still be on for a podium finish here, Paul.
Yes, he absolutely could. He's got these fresh medium tyres. Of course, he should be 5 seconds probably further up the road than he is at the moment, and you can see he's just got more grip than Daniel Ricciardo in front of him, but what he's not able to do is obviously get by him. Ricciardo was weaving about, just trying to drop the slipstream on the straight, but Perez is probably more the DRS zone coming up at the end of the back straight that he'll be trying to make that overtake as the Ferraris just pulled away. So Carlos Sainz, looking like the Ferraris, went through that graining stage, and it's certainly working very well. The engineer will be on the radio soon to say, probably going to finish third here, Carlos.
Yeah. So Carlos Sainz, good day. Hamilton, could be a good day. Certainly a good day in terms of clawing back points and getting a lead in the championship. Lando Norris at the moment, absolutely fantastic day. Let's just go down a little bit the order. Valtteri Bottas down in 14th place at the moment.
Lando Norris is very quick in the last sector. He was 2/10 quicker on that lap again than Hamilton. So Hamilton, as far as he can get, as close as he can get, if Lando Norris can do that on the small twisty bits of this track. Yeah. But remember, he finished on the podium in Monaco, so that kind of comes into where the Mercedes struggles. We know it's quick on the big open sections and there's tracks like Silverstone, but it's completely on merit as well if he wins today, Crofty. I think, you know, the way McLaren have gone about it and the way he drove yesterday, outstanding.
Bottas down in 14th. At the moment, as we watch Perez
set him up.
He's looking for the move, but Ricciardo is defending very well indeed. Now, is there a gap opening on the outside of Ricciardo through turn 3? And there's a lot of marbles there, and you know what? Go off line too far, because then you're going to lose your grip, and that's exactly exactly what Perez had to do in terms of getting
But with him qualifying down where he did Mercedes say, well, the chances of him getting on the podium probably slim. So let's take that engine penalty and have the benefit of the new engine later on in the year. Think about the Constructors' Championship, but he should be picking up more points in that car.
Constructors' Championship as it stands at the moment, well, Red Bull are scoring 10-16. They're scoring two less points than Mercedes, who went into this race with a lead in that Constructors' Championship of 18 points, as down toward turn 2 we look. Charles Leclerc right behind the Alpine of the Williams of George Russell, and he's got Russell in his sights, and he's going to have to go the long way round turn 3 if it's at all possible. Russell's watching out for him. He leaves a bit of room down the inside. Leclerc will take that opportunity. Say thank you very much indeed, and up into 9th place.
You see the difference with that Ferrari. It's got all the downforce it can have on the car, and it's able to follow the Williams through that long corner and then make the move, whereas Perez, he's so trimmed out downforce to make the benefit on the straight, he can't do that.
And Lewis, there's still a threat of rain towards the end.
Don't forget that what were Ferrari predicting that the last 5 laps of this race, we might just have a little bit of rain. As it stands, the gap down to less than a second. And a half between Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. Norris never won a Grand Prix in his life. Hamilton detection zone just out of the final corner.
Threat of rain, 5 to 10 minutes, hitting 10.57.
It's coming in off the sea here. Is Hamilton? No, he's not. You see, through those final sectors, Paul, he's not dipping below 1 second, so he's not getting the benefit of DRS down the straights.
No, but he's just went 2/10s quicker on that lap than Lando Norris, so the gap is only 1.3 seconds now, but you can see Lando Norris's batteries charging all the way down as he gets him down into turn 2. Is Hamilton just doing a different approach? Is he strategically thinking he's going to get one go at this and one go only?
He's just chipping away, isn't he? Couple of tenths, lap by lap.
It's a superior car, you can do something like that.
And he's now down below 1 second. Well, was very, very briefly. There's another DRS detection zone coming just out, so just before turn 10 and out of turn 10, which is where we're coming to in in a couple of corners' time. So he needs to be within 1 second to get that rear wing gap opening up down the straights and give you more pace. And George Russell is saying spots of rain at that very place. We're there now, turn 10.
Yeah, and that's kind of in the position where turn 5 is, isn't it? Where we can see on the distance actually earlier on in the hills where that rain was coming. I mean, if the rain comes on with the tyres worn and all the green and they've got Bambi on ice.
Well, Bambi on ice would go well here. The Bolshoi Ice Dome, for instance. There's various ice rinks around here. The Winter Olympics, but it would be very slippy and very greasy indeed. So,
but there's a guy that did a very good job when it was like that yesterday, and that was Lando. He was able to get the tire to him.
Well, that's the whole thing. Lewis came in, hit the wall, didn't he? Had to wait to get his tyres changed in qualifying. Lost all the temperature in those tyres. Lando managed to get temperature in his and found the grip as a result of it. Lando Norris, 21 years old, 317 days, would become the 3rd youngest winner in Formula One, but he has got 9 laps.
How are conditions, Max?
Drizzling a little bit there.
But he's got 8 laps, I should say, to go to really... test his mettle.
What could be the difference if we do go into inters very soon? Verstappen obviously didn't run in qualifying. He's got some brand new sitting, whereas everybody else will be on used tyres.
But they'll all be nice and warm and wrapped up in their blankets in the garage.
And Lando. Umbrellas are going up.
Spitting quite a bit.
Oh, man. It's a nightmare. It's horrible.
Paul, nothing. You know it. You've driven in Formula One. You've driven in conditions like this. You know that nothing comes easy in Formula One. And this could be the hardest race Lando Norris will ever win in his entire life.
It comes in to like putting the lottery numbers on Crofty. How much do you push? And you've got Hamilton charging behind, but then you've got to think Hamilton needs to think about the championship. He can't afford to make it. Any slip up here, if he makes a mistake, it could be a game changer.
But also, when you're on the verge of a record-breaking first man ever to reach 100 wins in Formula One, you're going to be thinking about that too, because you've waited 5 races for it to come.
Okay, be ready with it. Be ready with it. So
Sainz is saying, get ready. And that's the other call, Paul. Do you? Go on to the intermediate tyres or a brand new set of warm slicks where we've seen in the past, they're the tyres for just a little bit of light rain.
No, you're not going to, Crofty, because you're not going to make up the difference fitting a new set of tyres at the moment when the conditions are like that. The only difference is if you switch back. If you were going to a new set of softs from Inters, I'd say yes. But at the moment, there's only one thing you do here. You carry on until you can, and then you've got to get in and get intermediates on.
And now we approach the part of the track where we're near the seafront, where it is going to be at its wettest. You can see the rain signs there. Hamilton is getting so much closer to Lando Norris. These next two corners are really critical as Lando Norris goes wide, and you can see just how slippy it is for both Norris and for Hamilton. Norris hasn't got as much experience in this sort of situation. Hamilton has. Now what's going to win out?
This is a part of the track where it's wet. Do you stay out in slicks? Do you stop for inters? What do you do? Because you're going to benefit later in the lap. You can see they've already got the grid back. So if you're Verstappen, do you gamble? Do you fit the inters? Of course, Red Bull will be watching that.
Nobody, Paul, nobody is coming into the pits to take the gamble yet. Hamilton has got DRS. Norris has survived the tricky, slippy part of the track. Can he survive this braking zone? Yes, he can. Stays out in front, but Hamilton once again is that much closer, and he's almost shunting that McLaren down the road in his desperate bid to get past. Norris is holding Hamilton up as it looks like at the moment, but Norris is still staying out in front.
You can see the moisture on the rear wing, can't you, when it's getting damp? You can see it sitting there. But it's all fine here. The times are absolutely perfect. It's when they arrive at turn 5 again, what's going to happen? And you can see the drops of rain on the camera that you're seeing at the moment.
Hamilton's got DRS once more down this main straight where it's dry underneath the big canopy of grandstand and slightly on the track, as well as Perez gets past Sainz to go up into third place. But now it's going to get a bit damp for the drivers.
We think the rain might get worse before it gets better.
The rain is increasing out there on the track and trying to make their way on the slick tyres through this damp part of the track comes our race leader and the man in second as Vettel gets past Stroll and Bottas, gets past Raikkonen as the two Finns swap places. There's a yellow flag as someone goes off the track in the middle part of the lap. And I think all drivers are now starting to struggle because that is looking very treacherous indeed, not just for Norris, but for Hamilton as well.
Okay, let's box for inters then, box for inters.
Why did Verstappen not stop?
Well, Verstappen has carried on, Leclerc has carried on.
Norris has went wide.
Norris has gone wide. Vettel's the next man to go into the pits along with Lance Stroll, his team. Norris is just tiptoeing his way around the track, and he is not the only one out there to do it. What a dramatic conclusion to this Russian Grand Prix we are in for here. It's going to be a race on the track and in the pits.
It's pretty slippery, but it's not raining much.
We should have been in, the guys behind, absolutely.
Into the pits, come Russell, Raikkonen, Bottas and Mazepin as well, taking a gamble in the lower midfield. There you can see. Valtteri Bottas making his way.
It's a bit of the track that you can't afford to be there. It was dry before, and you can see the difference even on the softer tyre of the Alfa Romeo further up.
Everyone watching this, I'm sure, has their hearts in their mouth for Lando Norris and their fingers crossed, who has done so well today.
Heavy rain here, mate, heavy rain.
Copy, mate, copy. Keep it on the black stuff.
Looks so comfortable driving a Formula One car. That McLaren now resembles a rally car. He's having to go sideways through some of the corners. Such is the rain out there, and the gap now is only 12.5 seconds between the leader Norris and second place Hamilton, and down the inside goes Sebastian Vettel. Lance Stroll, who'd already been Lance Leclerc, goes past Perez, and look how heavy the rain has come down. And how much spray is out on the track, and it's now just 4 seconds between Norris and Hamilton.
Verstappen could finish P2 here.
And Hamilton takes the lead of the race as Lando Norris slides off the track and avoids the barriers, manages to keep going, but Hamilton takes the lead. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen, who's on the intermediate tyres, is making his way through the field.
It's full wet, boys. I got a box. I'm going to shut.
Yeah, we're going to come in.
I can't do this.
We're going to come in. We're going to box.
Oh, this is tragedy in a sporting context for Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton now.
As a team here. Just before the toss, we saw Hardik Pandya giving a very passionate.
देखिए वीवो IPL 19 सितंबर से 15 अक्टूबर लाइव सिर्फ स्टार स्पोर्ट्स नेटवर्क और डिज्नी प्लस हॉटस्टार पर।